and then that's it. And there should be little, you should see things moving around there. So that just means we're in record, and then you will see me. So here we are. Welcome. Is it Kathryn or Kathryn?
Kathryn.
Kathryn. Right.
Kath. Kathryn.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. Okay. So welcome. Is it Brisbane?
Brisbane, Australia. Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Right in the middle on the east coast.
That's a little bit east of Belfast, is it? Yeah.
Yes, just ever so slightly, yes.
Yeah, just get our levels right here. So, well, welcome to the Basis Project. We're not going to talk about anybody else. We're going to talk about you, and you've got some very important things here that you're talking about, and you're not quite sitting on the edge of the beach, but it looks wonderful. Is that the beach nearby, or?
There is a beach that looks like that nearby.
Very good.
This is just a...
Are you telling me that it's some kind of AI Skype thing?
Yes, it is. I can turn it off if you like.
No, I think it's absolutely wonderful. That's great. Behind me is a plan for space. Have you heard it?
No, I have not. I was looking at the graphic thinking, what a wonderful looking graphic. It's very nice.
If I sort of point this way, that is the smallest piece of paper you can print that thing on, and it's called the Plans for Space, and it was designed round about the end of the 90s, and it's got like triple or maybe 4 different diagrams superimposed on top of them. But the bottom line is, it actually goes quite a bit further up. The bottom line is, by the time you get to the bottom, humanity will have left the solar system.
So it's a timeline.
That's involving it's very detailed insofar as we've got all the different space programs, including the British space program, which isn't meant to really be there with manned spaceflight. But that's an interesting piece of paper. Whether it's fiction or just good intentions or not, we'll have to see. So, Kathryn, could you explain where we're coming from on this? You've got a number of... if you want to share screen, I think I've enabled you, but I prefer if not to. I mean, if we can add things in and edit, this is purely for record, so we can do things if necessary or not. I have a number of your images which I could cut up, but we can let's talk about you and where are you coming from on this. The secret space program.
Secret space program, yes, that would take in all of those experiences that I sent you. So I've been an experiencer since a very tiny child. I think I may have been a toddler when I first saw greys in my bedroom. I thought they were ghosts, but, you know, when you look at the outline of them now, they're actually greys, little greys. I got used to them roaming in and out of my space, my personal space, my house space, and they became kind of a comfort, really. And if they went away, I'd miss them. I remember being in my swimming pool and I could see interlacing triangles around me, and they were glowing. And that was like I experienced unusual things kind of from the beginning.
So what sort of age are we talking about here?
Oh, that would have been 3 or 4 when I saw the interlacing triangles. Yep, glowing in just not really in front. It was off to the left-hand side of me, and I looked up, and there were these interlacing triangles around me.
Is this inside the environment of your play area or what?
I was in the backyard in Brisbane, and we have quite considerable backyards here. And my mother had a little canvas swimming pool so that I could play in the water because, you know, it gets very hot here. And I just happened to look up and there were all these triangles. But I could see not all the way around me, just a small
And
part.
were these
And
solid triangles, or were they craft, or were they just symbols, or what?
they were part of the fabric of being. I understood them to be part of what our environment was. Even as a child, I thought that that was a natural part of our surroundings and that I could see it. Uh,
So it was no
so
big
that
deal. So you weren't scared in any way.
No, no, it was all kind of normal for me. I didn't tell anyone about it because I had quite a conservative family, and
But you had that
my
awareness
mother,
that maybe you shouldn't tell people.
yeah, maybe because they wouldn't understand. It'd be pearls before swine. Not saying my family is swine. It's just they wouldn't have understood. So even at that age,
But at that age, you had that awareness.
yes, yep.
Well, let's just hear
I
your
didn't,
story. Just keep going.
okay. Um, So my father died 10 days before I was born, next to my mother in the bed. She was 8.5 months pregnant with me at the time. Um, she could hear him dying, but he was already dead by the time the ambulance got there. So she had then, after that, a nervous breakdown, an addiction to Valium. She would knock herself out. All day. She would lock me in rooms and leave me in there for considerable amounts of time. I learned that you can't scream, you can't cry, because no one's coming. No one's coming to save you. So you might as well just get on with your business, type of thing. And then she went off Valium and became an alcoholic. And that's the way she was for the rest of my life. So I was pretty much on my own as a child. My two sisters had left, and was on my own. We moved to where her family is, right to the north of Queensland, a little place called Cairns, and it was very frontier town, very rough. And I went to a boarding school, which is on the tablelands from there. Um, which is west in a very tiny village, and it was dry and it was a tin mining town, but they had boarding schools there. So I attended that for a couple of years, came back to Brisbane, but very, very much on my own. I made all my own decisions at the age of, 8, 9, 10, and I'd lost contact with her pretty much over that time. Anyway, so at the age of 12, there was my first pack rape, and the second one was at 14. Also, between the ages of 12 and 14, my cousins, there was incest as well. And that became a breaking point, a breaking away point for me. And I believe, and was shown in a regression, that that was part of the plan for the torture, the what is it? Breaking of the seal of Solomon that Max Spears used to talk about,
Yeah.
where they break into your base of the spine chakra and they shatter you, and you're able, and they're able to use you. So
Could you get into the details of that?
the rapes.
Well, I mean, how did it sort of all happen? Were you at the school, or I mean, circumstances where?
My mother spent a lot of time down at the pub, so she just wasn't there. So I think it was a Friday night, and somehow or another, somebody was able to get a bottle of port at the bottle-o, and I started drinking at 12 years of age. And we went to like a football game or something, and there was a car there, and I was pretty drunk by that stage. And I got into the car, and they took me to a cane field, and there was about 5 of them that took their turns with me. it was a, I think they had their headlights on, and it was a dark cane field. This was a group of men in Cairns that did this to a lot of girls. I wasn't the only one. And they did it twice. Because the second time I'd gone to a dance and Mum was down the pub. And there was a long walk home in the dark after the dance, and they were waiting there. And I thought, might as well just cut to the chase. There's no way I'm going to be able to get home. And there were vacant lots and no street lights because it's a very tiny town. So I just got in the car because they were going to drag me into the car on the way home anyway. So might as well just get it over and done with. And then they just wouldn't drop me home. They just drove past, and there's this feeling of being kidnapped. And for some reason, when I was a child, I couldn't stand being locked in or out of things. Like I'd broken 2 windows, one at school and one at home. Once when I was locked out and once when I was locked in. And being locked in that car was very, very triggering and uncomfortable for me. And from then on, I in a very small town like that, you get a very bad reputation quickly. So after the age of 12, I was kind of branded as a whore. But anyway, I'll get on. I left. I had a child when I was 19. The experiences of it started with, I always felt that they gave me more eggs than I would have normally in my ovaries, and that I've had a lot of pregnancies. I went to the moon and saw a hybrid child that I have. There was a tall grey lady, very, very nice lady, sitting there looking after the creche. And there were other parents there, other type of hybrid children, but mine was a tall grey child, beautifully looked after, beautifully dressed, well-mannered, and it was just a delight to meet her. So I have memories of floating out of windows and, being taken and having pregnancies that they've taken away. So it kind of started off like that, where I was fertile and they just helped themselves to my body and my eggs, but some of those eggs may have been their eggs that they implanted into me. And I knew this. It was very obvious to me, and I have very vivid memories of it. And after my last child was born, I had a hysterectomy, and I thought, let's just get rid of the whole thing so you can't use it anymore. So that was my reason for actually going in and having it out. But they kept the eggs there, so, they could still use eggs, but I didn't have a womb anymore that they could colonize. After that, I started having dreams about reality dreams, about fighting, being a soldier. My father was in the Battle of Al Alamein, the withdrawal of Malta, and a raid at Tobruk. He was a truck driver, and I'm walking distance from the military base here in Brisbane. And I've learned that a truck driver, through an acquaintance over there, is someone who's been through signals, which is the, communications and spy type of areas. And when they go deeper into that, they're just known as truck drivers. And my father was a truck driver going backwards and forwards from the front, and they fed him speed. But genetically, I look nothing like my mother. I look like my father. I inherited his genetic blueprint. And I walk like a soldier. I behave like a soldier. When I was working at the army barracks, they would mistake me for a soldier. And I've always lived near, not always, but in the last 20 years or so, it's over that way. That's why I'm looking. I have lived near an army barracks, always. I can't get away from it. And then I heard that they they will place you near an army barracks if they're still using you. Yes, I started having experiences of being on another planet. In one instance, I ran out of this tunnel as fast as I could go, and I was a man. And I went down this slope and curled up and became like a rock. And they couldn't see me up to that. And I was able to get away from whoever they were. And after that, I thought, there is just no way ever that I would think of being a rock. Like, where did that come from? It was so unusual. It was just not part of what I would think to do if I was in this body, in this dimension. And that
There's a
started
whole
me on
pile of
my
questions
journey.
here, but just keep going. Yeah.
Oh, that started me on my journey. There's a few experiences, not a lot, but a few of that. And at the end of that, using of that body, I was shot in the head, and it went from the back, and it went all the way down to my clavicle and split. But there was no gore, no blood. It was just over. And I've never had another dream of that since. They got me. And I remember being in trenches, yelling at people to keep down, and people not keeping down and getting shot. Why they'd want to poke their head up over a trench, I still don't even know what that means. I mean, it's just stupid. Oh, I can't even remember it all. You know, I'm having a regression with Mary Rodwell soon, and
Yeah.
I'd like to
Okay.
go more into that.
Mary's first class. How
Mm.
long have you been seeing her? Or is
I
if
haven't. I'm
if
going for my. I'm going for my first regression on the 28th in 4 days' time with Mary Rodwell. I've
we're
done
talking
one with Misha.
October 2024 here now. Yeah.
Yes. And that will be the 28th of the 10th, 2024. And I've had one with Misha Johnson and one with James Rink. Those are the two regressions I've had so far. After
Misha's
my
a first
head,
class lady. It was good to see her again in
I
Florida.
go to her groups. Yeah, it's really, I've got one this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Time difference I keep getting confused by. But yeah, she was the only one that has ever, I've been to a psychologist for 10 years trying to figure out my mother and the effect, the aftermath of what happened with her. But Misha got in there and seriously, it's over. She did it in like an hour or something that I'd spent years trying to figure out. It was amazing. Just amazing. Anyway, so good. There was a lot of things that came up with James Rink and Misha. James was interested, like, we went in and out of these portals, and there was a super soldier type one with all this grey metal, and there was a waiting room. We went into another one, and there was a cargo bay. And I learned during that the experiences I've been having with telepathic interfacing were me as a sphere. Like, they take you out of your body. I have often over the years been yanked out of my body. They throw you down on the bed, and they in the middle of the night, and they tear your consciousness out of your body. Doesn't matter if
Who's they?
I'm not really even sure who they are, but they are doing it. So, you know, I'm still figuring out parts of my journey. But they'll take your consciousness out and they'll use it for different things. And I've had memories of circuitry and, that Mars being it can be a little confusing. There's a labyrinth of, dimensions and timelines to consider when I'm experiencing things. Misha has always said it's interdimensional, and after recent experiences, I believe it is interdimensional.
And it's not linear. People have to get away from the linear aspects of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything's a sphere. Everything is in a sphere. It's not. It's a 3D moving, undulating thing. It's not just this line. It's everything is all at once. That crazy movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Well, that's a sphere, and that's true, what they said, to my way of thinking. So James, he wanted me to follow JP, and I did. He was in a tunnel, and this tunnel was Earth, and I went down to another tunnel that went off to the bottom left, and I couldn't get in. So he put a code there, and I was with a mantis being and JP. So he put a set of code, which is still freaking me out. I still don't know about that code, but anyway, it's there now. And we went in, but instead of everything being kind of a bluish hue, it was all a rainbow hue. We were walking down this tunnel and got to a cabin that was very similar in feeling to an English court. I couldn't see a throne or anything, but there was this feeling of a diplomatic meeting, but in a royal sort of court. And JP went off and mingled with everyone because apparently he has a very affable personality. And
now, is this the JP that sort of stays out of the way? I saw he was at the Michael Sala and Elena Denan, but off camera.
Yeah, he doesn't show himself. Yep. Anyway, yeah. That is him. So I was in there and I looked down, as they say to do, and I could see mantis. My feet were mantis, my whole body was mantis. But then I realized that I was actually floating in a sphere above the head of a mantis. I wasn't the mantis. And I was there to record and observe and make a report afterwards. And he wanted me something about beans that went missing. I don't know. I haven't been following it. And he wanted me to go and find a tree and get beans, something about long life beans or whatever. And I said, no, I am not going to do that because that's kind of stealing. And these people, all the mantises in the room, they were like lace wing. They were smaller, slender, and they had under their exoskeleton things, they had a lace wing situation going on. And with the lace wings, they actually read their environment with it and their mandible things. And they read, they're constantly fluttering, reading their space. And there's a group consciousness that goes on with them. And they were all discussing, and there was about a couple of hundred of them, or 100 and something of them. They were discussing something very important. And
I mean, could you hear them speak? I mean, was there a language, or was this some kind of a...
It was telepathic.
Yeah.
It was telepathic. And there's a group consciousness, and they what each of them says goes into the group speak, and then it reaches a conclusion in that group speak. So each individual, it goes up into a group speak, and conclusions are made from there, not individual conclusions. And each one has a say in the group speak, group consciousness, hive mind, I guess, situation. That's the way I saw it when I was in there. But another portal that I went down had cargo bay. And I'm not sure if anyone has seen Stargate. And there are these replicators in Stargate.
Right.
The movie shown, but
Is it
in
like the
this
replicator? I mean, from a visualization point of view, are we talking basically the same as in Stargate?
similar, they were like interconnecting spiders, but in a Minecraft kind of way. They were very, the cubes all fit together, and they were packing themselves up in this cargo bay, and they each line of them would march forward to the next line and click into place, and then the next line would come along and click, and then that's the way they were stored for transport. And I don't know what they were. I think it might have been something quite mundane, like mining or something like that, but there were lines of them clicking into place, and I read the situation, and then on top of those ones is another layer, and the wing parts of them clicked over, and the feet parts of them clicked up, and they became a unit, like a rectangular cubish unit, and they all clicked into place, and that's the way they were transported. Thousands of them. It was a big cargo bay, and I was standing there with another being, which I'd like to think is Mantis. Maybe I think it is Mantis, but I can't be 100% sure in that because I didn't see them properly. They were brown, whatever they were, a brown mantis. Before I had that regression, I had another experience with a mantis. Before that, I was in a waiting room, and I was waiting to be interviewed. And the waiting room was also very bland and mundane looking. And I was waiting for my name to be called, for my turn to go into the room to be interviewed. And this person in a grey suit, you know, like a tall grey suit. I say suit because it was kind of baggy. It didn't fit properly. And they came out and called my name, and that's all I remember of that. I don't think I wanted to remember what was in the room, and so I shut
Well,
off
I mean,
after that.
some people have said that a lot of these so-called greys are actually people wearing suits. Do you think it was a human inside that, just to look like a grey?